brothers and a bro fist to you all. God damn, this whole race is just up and down, up and down. I can barely keep up with it. Like, it's going to go down in history as one of the most memorable races of all time. But let's get into today's recap as we are now on day 11, I believe. So I've nearly been here officially 2 weeks. Well, it's been so fast, it hasn't mattered. Yesterday was the ultimate reprieve for Echo. It was exactly what they need for both their mental that we talked about yesterday and their just motivation overall, because they needed a wall. It had to happen. They needed a wall. There was no way they can just keep pace or do slightly better than Liquid to win, right? That's not enough. They need that point where they can progress to at least the same point and start working on their own stuff. So some interesting things happened, and this will be a big debate, I think, on what's the best course of action. Liquid went dark, which was smart. Like, at the time, I consider that a smart decision. Taggz, there's a wonderful interview with Taggz that he did that hopefully we can link below. I would listen to it about this subject. And going dark means they turned the streams off, right? The Race to World First is a big streamed event, and they turned the streams off because they were at Frack. They'd reached phase 2, and they were like, we're not showing Echo anything else. Now, this has led to a massive, massive debate in the community about what yoinking strats means. Because from the casual observer and what it actually means are very, very different things, at least in my eyes, right? This is my opinion. It's not a case of positions or anything like that. That's stuff that any guild, this caliber, these two guilds can figure out relatively quickly. It doesn't matter, right? They'll see it once, and then they'll be like, right, we have 5 or 6 ways of solving this, and then they'll choose the one that works best for them. And that's it. So often, that kind of yoinking is like, well, Liquid, if they're ahead, have already done those 5 or 6 tries. That one worked the best. Okay. But it saves, a few minutes of pulse. That's about it. The real thing is what we saw yesterday, right? The real stuff is what we saw yesterday. And that is just knowing what the boss does. That is invaluable, because that's the information that doesn't exist anywhere else. And when you have that information, you could start making plans early as to how you're going to deal with it. And the strategists and the analysts who are outside the raid can start busying themselves with lots of stuff. So there was a definite, obviously the guys came in yesterday and I spoke with them. And I was like, you need to get the mental in the right place. The guys are going to be a little bit down, but not as down as they would have been if they hadn't killed Syndril. But they're still not going to be upbeat considering the kind of stumble that Echo had that day. Okay, so Liquid have pulled, but what this led to is a really interesting side effect. And I'm sure Liquid are aware of this because it would have happened to them too, is Echo just got to play their own game. And they were extraordinarily happy with that because they didn't know what was coming. They had no idea. So from that point on, they might as well have been in the lead as far as they were concerned, because they don't know what's coming. And then they just played their own game that they've been training to do for so long and build their own foundations, their own strategies, that kind of thing. And they had a great, great day of progressing the boss. They had a really good time. And then it got to dinner time. Liquid started raiding. So I hear in my earpiece, like, oh, Liquid's raiding now. I was on the couch. But they've kept the logs in competitive mode. Basically, if you put your logs that you upload to Warcraft logs into competitive mode, the details aren't released for other people to see. You can see them. They're private, right? They're basically private logs, but nobody else can see how many times you pulled the boss, what your best percentage was. All that kind of stuff is not available. So Liquid were pulling, but nobody could see what was going on. So then the theory was Liquid probably had a really good pull, and it was very much going back to Aberrus when Liquid went dark. And when they came back, Sarkareth, they had nearly killed Sarkareth. And that was a huge blow to Echo. They were like, holy crap, right? They nearly killed it in the night. We've not started getting to that phase yet. And we find out that in the night, Liquid has essentially nearly killed the boss and pulled a really long night and then came back and killed it that day. And they were like, that was a huge mental blow, which is a big part of the race, as I've been stressing to you over the course of this. But that isn't what happened. Now, I definitely played this up on the stream, from not to be dishonest, but more to be as the casual viewer, taking that role of we're finding this information out now. What does it mean? What do we suspect is going to happen? Those kind of questions are what's going to be going through Twitch chat's mind, and anybody who's not been following Echo, not been following Liquid, that kind of thing. So I took that role with Jesse and Alex sort of filling me in. So you kind of take this. Explain it to me. It's like an exposition in a movie scene, right? So while we were on dinner, we were in the caster room, and Gingy and Kush and a couple of others were in there all chit-chatting with everybody. while we getting set up to do some of the charity stuff, which I'll get to later. And they're watching Liquid do the pull, or like chilling out, we're watching, and it's like, okay, they get to phase 2, and then we saw the ads. And then we saw the ads, and we were like, huh, those are some meaty ads. And Liquid were wiping in phase 1 before that, and we were like, huh. My theory was, I said to Gingy, like, I reckon they're at 50%, and Gingy goes, I don't think so. Like, because obviously been playing the fights, like, I don't think they're that far ahead. I was like, I wouldn't be surprised after what happened with Sakura that they managed to push to like 50% or something. Knowing how the fight works with its like immune damage and then break through, and now you can damage the boss again. That kind of approach. So I was like, I think they might be about 50%. And then they were wiping in phase 1 again, and they were still having some trouble on some other things. We're like, would have thought that would have been cleaned up by now with another 7 or 8 hours of raiding or whatever they did. And so we were like, okay. And then they did get through the intermission and then started dealing with these ads, and we started watching the knockbacks, and immediately it was like, oh, they're using the belts from PFA. And it was like, oh, why? These ads have a lot of HP. And then they wiped, and then they unprivated the logs to show that they, in their hours of offline raiding, they'd only gotten that far. That's it. And there's the wall that Echo needed. And there was a resounding cheer around the room as a fire came out of the guys. Like, holy shit. Holy God. This is really what we want right now. This is exactly what we want right now. And it was incredible to see. It was incredible to see. The guys like, perfect. This is exactly what we need. Something super, super hard. Big wall. We're going to climb over that goddamn wall, and we're going to make it happen. And obviously that's when this kind of strats things come in, is because they very immediately started changing things around. Not only did they get the BFA belts, but then we saw roster changes. We saw like the tank change to a Demon Hunter, very ad focused. We saw a Rep Paladin come in, and then Narco switch to his Rogue. Like, all that information was based on what they'd seen in that little clip. It was like, oh, okay, we could do this. We could start planning for this, this, and this. And they've rolled back some of that this morning, as I've just seen the guys have just started raiding. They've rolled back some of that, but the enthusiasm in the Echo camp right now is through the goddamn roof. Like, through the roof. It was unbelievable. They were like, sweet. Sweet. Right? This boss is not going to fall over. That was the big fear. This boss is going to fall over. It's going to be another Sakura. And nope, no, it's not. No, it is not. This boss is ultra hard. There's big walls, and we can work on it in our own way. Liquid haven't gone past it. We can work on it. I think they've passed it now. I'm just getting information as they came in. But the Echo Raiders have just started, and Liquid has gone to bed already, right? They've got the whole day ahead of them to get some work done, and they've just done one pull that I saw before I came on here, and they're already through the intermission and starting to work on the ads. So this is phenomenal for Echo. This is exactly what the boys needed. This is the exact feeling we wanted in camp, is this, like, this exact, it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. I can't stress you enough. It's just like how happy everybody was. And like, sweet, because there was a genuine fear like this boss is just not going to be as hard as Tindral Sage Swift. It's going to die. They've gone dark. They're probably at phase 3, blah, 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 blah. Like, all that stuff was running through their heads. And then, but then they had the good stuff of playing their own game, working their stuff out themselves, and then seeing that Liquid wasn't far ahead and being like, this is far, far from over. Far, far from over. So that's where the mood is today, is just everybody's laughing and joking there. They're really happy. They're just so upbeat. And the guys stayed up late into the night, plotting out the rest of the fight, working what they're going to do, what classes we're going to need. What do we need to do? Some more splits that may be coming. Do we need to gear some other characters? Do we need to do X, Y, and Z? Right now they've rolled back a bit because it was more consistent for them to get to the ads, and then they'll see if they need to adjust even further. So a lot of people asking is, how long is the boss going to last? I think this dies Saturday is my current guess. That's tomorrow. But Sunday's also possible with the rate of progression right now. I don't think it's going to the reset. That would be really cringe. And I mean that as if the guys are just hitting a wall where it's like, we just need more power. We need another reset of power in order to overcome it. Blizzard doesn't tend to like that. If the fight is mechanically solved and it's like, yeah, you've solved everything, you're doing everything correctly, but you just can't win, that's when they nerf things. We're not at that stage yet. We're absolutely not at that stage yet, and these girls don't want that yet. They want this wall just like they did on T-Swift. There's like, give it us. This is good. We need to prove who's best. And I can't wait to see how this race fulfills. And it's going to be such an exciting weekend to see where the progress goes. I can't wait. I'm on the couch in a little while to see where the guys get. So I'm kind of later in the day, like the mid shift. There's like 4 general caster shifts. I'm on 3rd. So I'll see like the heavy progress. I'll probably get the scuff pulls when they're tired and they're waiting for dinner. All that kind of stuff is going to come. I do want to give a shout out to yesterday though. In me and Alex were waiting for them to pull. They were doing a lot of like crafting and things like that. And we were like, let's do something really cool for charity and see what we can do. And in the space of an hour, we raised $7,000 with you guys for Rise Above the Disorder, which is a mental health care organization formed by a WoW guild that's now expanded across the world and provides mental health care to people who can't afford it, don't have the resources, that kind of thing. It was absolutely amazing. And I just want to give a shout out to everybody there. Yeah, we did some silly stuff. Of course we did. But ultimately, to have moments like that, what a day for selfishly, what a day for me and a day for Alex is to talk to the guys, try and give them a little bit of motivation first thing in the morning, to see them sort of rise up because they could play blind, which is what they wanted the whole way. So through the day, they just got better and better. Then that revelation about how hard the fight is going to be, just that spike of fire igniting within the Echo players. And then to follow it up with that, extraordinary day. Could not be happier being here in Sweden right now, despite trudging here in the snow to get here. But I can't wait to tell you what's happened tomorrow, man. I cannot wait. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll be back tomorrow. All right, guys. Bye-bye.